Hey everyone, I'm Michelle with CynemaTV, and today we're doing a thing with producers and writers Jade and Paul Schuyler. How's everyone doing today?
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
And today's interview will be based on the movie that you both wrote, Red River Road. My first question, of course, we can kind of tell by your name. You both are married, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
So, would you guys mind telling us of how you met?
Okay.
He loves to tell this story, so I'll let him.
Okay.
It's kind of a cliche. We met in acting class. We met at the Beverly Hills Playhouse. I came in as a director. I like acting, but I wasn't an actor. So I went in as a director, and we actually both got to study under Milton Katsalis, who founded the school. He was doing a special program. He hadn't taught like a new class in years. And so he put all these people together in this experiment, but he forced all the directors to act. So was terrible, and he almost booted me out. And then I put up a scene I directed, and he was like, okay, you can stay. And he assigned me to direct her in a scene from Streetcar Named Desire. And I think on our first meeting, I was like, now here's somebody I could work with. We've been inseparable since.
Absolutely.
What do you think makes a great film?
Oh, that's a real hard question hard and easy at the same time, I guess.
Right.
First of all, it has to be a great story. The characters have to captivate you, whether it's just the storyline and in the acting. And then there's all the other stuff that goes on, the score, the lighting, the cinematography, the setting. But really for me is the story. It has to be a great, captivating story, and you have to care. And as an audience member, you have to care about your characters.
Yeah, I think that's what sucks you in at first, because a good script can overcome suspect acting, suspect directing, but there's not much that can overcome just a poorly constructed script. There's also the intangible of what was the intention of the filmmaker. I'm trying to think of a good example of movies that weren't good movies, but you could tell that everyone involved, their heart was really in it. And it creates its own magic that kind of pulls you along. And a lot of independent cinema, I think, their passion for the story they're telling, or their passion for just filmmaking in general, overcomes the limitations that they might have had with budget or locations or whatever. So I think there's also, you have to care, because nothing's worse than like a corporate cash grab when you're just stuck in a theater. It's just like, no one cares about what they're making. This was just dollar signs. So that would be my answer, is what makes a terrible movie.
Okay. Since we're talking about budgets, in the movie Red River Road, what kind of budget were you guys working with?
Nothing. Like literally nothing. We had most of the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
We had the location, which we're in right now because
This is our set.
because we live here.
We didn't have to pay our actors,
Yeah.
my kids and us.
Yeah.
And my beautiful dog who's around here somewhere.
Yeah, we're basically like, do you want to eat tonight? Then you're going to be in a scene.
Okay.
The only thing was after the fact, when there's some clips from movies, getting all the clearances, we had to pony up some money for that to make sure, that everything was legally done. But for the most part, it was by hook or by crook to get it made. So,
and Paul edited the movie and wrote most of the music too, and mixed it.
Yeah.
So he's well versed in all aspects of creating a full feature film. So
yeah.
I lost him for a year. That's basically, we call it the editing dungeon. So time, we paid with time.
I did, just for my own education, I budgeted out the film after the fact if we had to pay for everybody, like if we paid salaries, and it was a mid-budget film if salaries were involved and we had to rent locations. And yeah.
What kind of challenges do you think that you face during production?
A lot. When you're shooting a film in your own house and you have all the camera equipment and your house has to look, whatever scene you're shooting has to look neat and tidy. So we just move everything to another side of the. So
yeah, the
logistics
of
it was spatially limiting. Also, you're shooting in your own home. You're still a family. You still have to eat and go to work days, and
yeah,
the kids have school. So That was a lot. That was a bit of a challenge,
Yeah.
scheduling and things like that. I mean, it was during COVID though, so I still, we both still went to work, but
Yeah.
but the boys were homeschooling at that time during COVID. So that was actually a blessing, and that's what kind of prompted us to jump into doing this film, because we were supposed to be shooting another film during COVID that got, upended due to everything shut down. So we're like, well, we can do it right here. Let's just shoot another movie. So Paul wrote the script in like 11 days or something like that.
Yeah.
And then
a couple. Yeah. About that.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the weirdest challenges was we thought, because there are, spoiler alert, there are some scenes that take place outside of the house. And we thought, well, it's locked down. We can go shoot on empty streets. Apparently everyone in Boston and New York that had a summer home on Cape Cod said, we're going to escape there. There were people everywhere. Like, it was so impossible to capture that empty world that we were after. A lot of tricks, and like, we have 3 seconds to shoot
very
this
early
one spot.
mornings.
Yeah.
As soon as the sun rose, we would get out there and shoot and hope for some peace and quiet.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Jade, this question is for you. Let me start off by saying your acting is amazing.
thank you.
If you can trade places with anyone in this film, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. Geez. I don't know. I would have to say,
Brody.
I was gonna say Brody, but that's a little strange. But I guess just as a mom, I would have to say Paul, because I would want him here with the boys after I go, and as a just being a mother, I wouldn't want them alone. Weird answer, but
Let me ask you guys this. Were you guys happy with the final product of the film?
I am.
I am super impressed with how the film turned out, not only in just the entirety of it, but the quality of it for what little budget we had. And that just speaks to Paul's expertise on being able to really put together a wonderful film, low budget film, but I mean, it speaks for itself. I mean, it showed all over during the film festival. We won some awards, so we were very, very pleased with that.
And I will say, I think every filmmaker can relate to this. After the fact, there's a little armchair quarterbacking that goes on, like, I should have done that, or that's like, outside of that, we captured what was on the page and then some. So from what we set out to do, I don't want to say nailed it because that sounds cocky, but we got it. We got exactly what we were after. Give or take some scenes that are just like, I wish we had more time to do that, or more light, or whatever. But certainly afterwards, and I think it's because the storyline is so rich, there were a ton of ideas I had afterwards that were like, oh, if we'd have done that, or, oh, this would have been a cool scene to add in there.
But what I'm most proud about is that we have kind of this time capsule of our family during COVID that will remain forever. That just is that my kids will be able to look back on and maybe get a kind of an understanding of not just that time, but my kids' family at that age. And I think that's what I'm just so happy about.
Yeah, to be able to include in the flashbacks the kids when they were super young.
Yeah.
So it's sort of this weird, like we're trapped in amber, like almost a little microcosm of our whole lives together as a family.
Okay. So do you guys have any advice for upcoming filmmakers or aspiring actors that are just now coming out?
Sure. Do you want to go first? Yeah.
Well, mine's simplistic. I'm sure you have a long answer since you've been a filmmaker for a long time, and I've just mostly been acting. But I think it's just do it. There's so many ways to make a film. You can make a film on an iPhone. You can make a film on whatever. It's so readily available, whether you rent it or however you do it. But just do it. Just start doing it. Start small. Get bigger and bigger. But create. I mean, you can create anywhere. It doesn't matter if you're creating in your garage. It doesn't matter if you're creating out in the world. It's just, if you have an idea, put it on paper, get it in the can or in your iPhone or whatever, and just do it. And you're going to get better and better and better. And that passion that you have from that will then attract other people that want to do it. And then you're going to become like a tour de force. So that's how I kind of feel like with us, we created together for a long time, lots of smaller films and then even another film that's on Amazon, but it keeps you going. You know, if you meet the like people and you stay passionate and you keep doing it.
I think one of the things that we've always done is we just throw ourselves in the deep end and then just figure it out as we go. It's common for people to talk about wanting to do something or having an idea, and at some point talking has to switch into doing. So to shadow you, it's just start doing, because that will get that energy going. The other thing too is know your craft, which is really easy to do with YouTube. You can find everything you'd ever want to know about how to make a movie, from cinematography to editing to composing. Become a student of that and then just watch a ton of movies. After a time, you'll start to develop your own voice, so to speak. And you know, you look at somebody like Paul Thomas Anderson, he just blatantly copied Scorsese's voice until he found his own. So don't be afraid to mimic your heroes in your way to developing your own voice, because sort of figuring out how they build something will naturally train you on how to build your own thing, and then you'll find your own flavor to it. So yeah, no, and have a story that you feel really passionate about, because guess what? Even like our movie was quick because there weren't a lot of moving parts outside of us. It still took over 2 years. So on average, a film takes at least 5 years from once you start, not just the idea, but once you start actually doing it, to being completion. So make sure you go into it with a story that you're willing to spend 5, 10, 15, 20 years to tell. Be that passionate about it.
Sure. I love acting with my boys. So any scene that I have, I mean, I've acted with him forever, but I've only had a few chances to act with my boys on stage and in film. So when you're shooting a scene with your kids, it's pretty incredible having that connection and just watching them dive right in. And then I also love arguing with you. So
Yeah.
there's a great argument in front of the fireplace that I had a lot of fun shooting
That
with
came
you.
pretty natural.
That's totally natural.
Yeah. I think for me as an actor, the scene when we get drunk
Oh yeah.
was just the most fun to play.
Mhm.
And as a director, I think ultimately it was that one day it was just me and the camera and you, and I was just out filming because it was very organic, like, oh, let's get a shot of that.
Yep.
Or I think that was the most fun, just purely creative.
So what roles do you guys prefer? Or what genre do you prefer?
Well, what I love so much about this role, and these are the kind of roles I love to play, I love drama, but I love humor too. So I love when you can put both together and not have it just be like, oh, a comedy, or I love dramas with heart and feeling. So this is part for me I really love to play.
Yeah.
Had a bit of everything. So you get to play as an actor.
Yeah. And you're good. You're
Oh,
really good at
thank
it. Yeah. It's funny, I write dark. Most of the stuff I create is dark. So I like being in comedies as an actor, and preferably something where I get to play more than one character. I've had a couple times on stage where I got to be multiple characters. I even had a scene where I had to act with myself that was kind of interesting. So being able to jump back and forth between different personalities is a lot of fun, or character work. That's probably my favorite.
And horror's growing on me. Like I'm not a horror film person, and it's starting to grow on me. He's beating it into me slowly.
Well, I think you're finding that you actually like when a horror movie is really good.
Yes. Yeah.
You're starting to get
the Babadook. I love that kind of intense thriller type.
Yeah.
But
I mean, there are a lot of bad horror movies out there, and I think horror fans, they'll slog through that for the gem. I mean, I know I do. It's like I'll watch 10 movies that are like, that was fine, to get that, like, oh, there it is. There's a good one.
What genre would you consider Red River Road? Suspense, thriller, horror?
It's more suspense.
I call it an emotional thriller. I started my own genre for it.
But just, in terms of the business, we positioned it as a horror film because that was sort of the category that it fit closest to. And the nice thing about horror is it's such a wide open genre. I think horror fans are the most willing to explore or go outside the boundaries. A rom-com's a rom-com. Like, it's very specific. These are the borders, stay there. And horror is like, oh, what's over there? Let's check that out.
Jade, question for you. How long have you been acting? And how do you get in character? Is it just because the experience you have, or what helps you get into character?
Sure. Well, I knew from a really young age I wanted to be an actress. I mean, I think I went to my mom at age like 8. I was like, I need an agent.
Okay.
But that didn't really come to fruition until towards when I was in college. I started to really get on stage, and then after that, I was on stage all the time. So most of my training comes from stage acting. And like Paul said earlier, Beverly Hills Playhouse, I was there for quite a few years. So I've been doing it a long time. It's just something I've always been passionate about. And as far as getting into character, I'm just like a big kid, so I always feel like it's like I just believe, you kind of find out who this person is. You do a little research on, whatever character you're playing, but then when you're really, I go prepared always. I know my lines, so I'm not fumbling around for any of that. The more prepared you can be as an actor, then you can play. So just listening and believing. So I feel like it's called a play. You're playing, you're believing like a 5-year-old would believe. So when someone tells you or that you think that your son would go missing, I mean, it's real. It hits hard.
What's something that you both learned from the role that you played that you can relate to in the real world, or that you use in the real world?
I think what I've learned most, it would be just about the whole process in itself. Working with Paul, I mean, and my family, I think that what I've really learned is that the dedication and time and effort it takes for especially you, because I know I only acted in it for 2.5 weeks or something like that, but that kind of passion and dedication that it completely inspires me. So I take that with me from that. So I try to put that in what I do in my life.
It's funny, the characters that we play in the movie are, they're very close to us in a lot of ways, but the character I played is a lot more confident than I am. Like I tend to be a bit of a worrywart.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, and Steven is way more pragmatic, and it was fun to see myself just being that pragmatic version of me, and it's weirdly informed me in life. Like I probably don't need to be so worried. Like Steven's still kind of hanging around, like, oh, you don't need to stress about that. Like it's all going to work out.
I never looked at it that way, because I think it's kind of the opposite for me and my character, where she's so like worried about everything, and I never even thought about looking at it that way.
Yeah.
Where I usually don't worry about anything. Let's just go do it. No problem. But that's funny.
Yeah, I gave you my worry is in your character.
Yeah, you gave me your insecurity. Yeah. Well, it worked.
I love the movie. I really did enjoy it. I think you guys did an amazing job. Do you have any upcoming movies coming out that we could be looking forward to?
Yeah, I just finished a screenplay called Wasted, and it's a murder mystery involving 4 teenagers. It's dark. It's got shifting perspectives, because you're getting all 4 of them are in an interrogation room, separate interrogation rooms. So the story is pieced together through what they're telling us, and it's a little unreliable narrator stuff going on.
And then we're still trying to get our film, The Tuna Goddess. That was the film we were supposed to be shooting that got suspended during COVID. So that was completely cast. And we were supposed to be shooting when we shot Red River Road. So we have that's out in the world right now. So hopefully we can revisit it. We're just waiting on financing, but isn't everybody?
Well, I'll definitely be on the lookout for Wasted. I'm very interested in that one. And I do want to thank you both for being here with us today.
I really enjoyed this interview, by the way. You have a great way of asking questions.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you check out Red River Road on CynemaTV. Make sure you like, comment, and follow to see what CynemaTV is up to. And remember, we're doing a thing.